What's the first thing we do?
First thing you do.
Okay. What's today?
Today is another Thursday podcast day.
Yes, Thursday. What's the date?
It's like I think it's the last Thursday in November.
And what day is that?
Not sure. I don't know.
I've got
Whenever. It doesn't really matter, does it?
It doesn't matter.
It matter. Okay, you get it.
It does matter because what we say, right,
Right.
is actually dated.
Okay.
Right?
I'll find
And the thing
yeah.
about it is that people say to us
Right.
that, oh, no, you didn't say that.
Didn't
And I
say
go,
that.
oh, yes, we did. If you check our podcast,
Okay.
we said it at that time.
Right.
Oh, you're going to
It's-
check the date, are you?
It's a 28/11/2024. So it's on the 28th of November. Yeah.
Which year? Because this could be 100 years' time.
2024.
Okay. And we're still waiting for Christ to arrive, are we?
Yeah. So yeah.
Anyway. So, and what time is it now? Roughly.
It's because I'm late, because I got delayed.
All right. It's after 6.
It's after two.
And
After two.
there is our favorite Canadian geeses.
Yeah, Canadian geese.
This is our
Hi.
audience. This is
Hi.
your audience.
Hi. Yeah.
Right. There's a couple of mad ones.
Yeah.
Oh,
Couple
they're
of mad
back.
ones. You ever heard about tariffs? Come on. You want some grain or corn? You gotta pay.
Yeah. And you got the taxes. And
Yeah.
we want one of your chicks as payment.
Chicks is yeah.
All right. So so it's Thursday, the 28th November, 2028. 2024. Right. So the time now is around. He's always chasing. He's always chasing that one. So it's about 2:20. What's the temperature?
It's cold, but it's not terribly cold. It's
Would you say 10 degrees, 7 degrees?
10, I think.
All right. It's under 10 degrees. It's about 7 degrees. And when the wind blows, it'll be
Yeah, the
5 degrees.
wind chill. Yeah.
wind chill. Yeah, it will
Yeah.
chill many parts.
But
of your
it's
body.
sunny and it's pleasant.
It's a sunny and pleasant.
And I'm also very happy because on the bus delay, right, I saw a street in Islington called Corbin Street.
Okay.
And it's made me really pleased.
Okay.
Haha. So imagine that.
Actually, let me check this. Yeah, I've got red light there. Just
Yeah.
make sure it's recording. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it's a nice sunny day today with the birds. I don't know whether you could see in the background. These birds. That's their favorite tree. Look, there's no birds on any of the other tree.
Well,
Right.
well,
they
yeah.
just inhabit this one, and we got to be careful because some of them are directly over us, especially that one.
Yeah.
And a little bit of wind blow and
Nature.
Nature.
Yeah, get some.
and I'll get something on my
Yeah,
shoulder
yeah,
and my
yeah.
hand.
Well,
All right, so beautiful day. The sun is shining. Before we get into our thing, do you know anything about how the sun travels around the earth and the seasons and the tilt?
the sun doesn't travel around the earth. The earth travels around the sun.
Thank you.
Look, if the sun travelled around the earth, we'd be in a very strange type of orbital system.
Who said to me recently the earth is still flat? Anyway, so a couple of nights ago, I was walking in the park in the night, and it
Yeah.
was beautiful, clear, like you can
Yeah.
see the blue sky, and I could see the stars, and I could see Orion because it's and I thought to myself,
What a wonderful world.
yeah. I thought to myself, back in the days when Britain used to conquer the world, how did the sailors get from A to B?
I think with the sextant.
Sextant.
Yeah.
How did the sextant work?
By pointing. I don't know. I'm making this up, but I think they pointed to the North Star
Right.
because it's always in the same place.
Right. Yes, they did. And it was the angle of the star
The star.
and the angle of that. Did they have a chart to go with it?
Later, yeah, later.
A chart to
Yeah.
like remember the logarithm table?
Logarithm tables. Yes, that came to do with longitude. They first knew about latitude first of all, and they had maps with latitude. Longitude was actually created mathematically, and in probably the 1880s, quite late.
I'm talking about longitude.
It's like the way you cut the slices of an orange, right?
Segments.
Segments, but the latitude wasn't hard to find. Longitude was hard to find, and that's why, because it was made by a British scientist and used by British sailors first and foremost to navigate. That's why it was the zero, right, of the longitude was made to go through London.
Greenwich.
Greenwich. It was arbitrarily put there.
Greenwich.
Greenwich Mean Time.
So not only did they conquer, what would you say, that thing of your position in the world, they also conquered tick tock, tick 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 tick. All clocks are based on
Oh,
Greenwich.
Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Otherwise, because they have to be based on something,
So who got there
and it
first?
has got to be universal. So it's got to start somewhere.
Right. So this sextant now worked on the stars, but also worked on the longitude, and the world is split up in these segments.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
for a while, and probably still now. See, so now we've got a thing called GPS. Positioning.
Position.
Right. Now, do you know, right, if you fall down and get covered, actually, anyway, it's not fall down, not necessarily in snow and get covered. Do you know you can have a GPS little thing in your ski pants, and when the water hits it, it starts sending out a signal. So when they come looking for you, they know exactly where you are,
Yeah.
right? Also, and I'm guessing here, all of those life jackets has one in there. On the plane
Yeah. Yeah.
and on the ship, right? Has a GPS. It's so. Oh,
Yeah.
do you know also? Do you know also? You've got one on you. Do you know where it is?
My rectum.
It's your phone.
Phone. Oh.
It can
Yeah.
locate you via your phone.
No idea.
Via one thing. There's one proviso. What does a phone need to operate?
A phone. What does a phone need to operate?
What's this here?
A battery,
Yeah. So if the battery goes dead
and the phone goes dead.
and they can't get the signal.
Oh, wasn't you? I remember.
Yeah.
No, now you're talking about it. Remember when the Israeli secret services managed to sell sort of the Hamas operatives these phones made in some in some country or other,
Yeah.
right? And they managed to put inside them or
Explosive.
get some explosives. And they brilliantly, how they really
Triggered it.
Triggered it, yes, yeah. I'm saying brilliant. I don't mean in admiration, in human admiration, but in a Machiavellian evil sort of. I must admire that cleverness. Although it's,
Right.
I don't admire them.
There's many parts of that cleverness. So how long do you think that operation had taken for them to do that? When did it? How long ago do you think it started?
No idea.
Probably years.
Must have been. Yeah.
Right. Years.
Yes.
Probably more than 2 years.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So what happened on the 6th of October?
it. Well, that must have been a long time before that.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. So right. But also, if we go back even up to 10 years ago, right? They did that. I remember they did that to a couple of operative or what have you. But basically, in today's world, all they need is your phone number to actually locate you.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, they don't even need your phone number, because if they have a drone up there and it just picks up all the telephone signals, and it would just they can tell, oh, there's a cluster of people standing here in Finsbury Park.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they're clever enough to actually switch the phone on, and the phone will be listening to the conversation, and then they will decide whether to blow us up or not. Right.
Yeah.
And
Sounds very odd, but yeah, possible.
and it could be a drone.
Yeah.
The thing about drones is that they're small, so if you look up, you can't see it. It'll just be like part of the natural
Yeah.
noise we see in the sky, visual noise. Yeah, that technology is there. You know, I'm talking about technology. So you were happy because you saw Corbin Street. I'm happy from yesterday because I've had technology tablets. No, I'm not a sick man. Actually, I'm a sick man, but it's a joke I usually use to my tech friends when I go and see them. It goes, oh, you must be. Yeah, I usually see them and go, oh, you must be a very sick man. I go, these are. You got to be. You're taking these tablets here, you know. And
Well, talking about technology tablets, I think a lot of people have taken some technology tablets, because what I heard on the BBC World Service this morning was that there's a lot of people who've left X because of Musk.
Yeah.
Lots of people have left, and I don't know, joined other services or what have you. But and there's many other people, and they said that doesn't include the number of people who reduced their X service or their Twitter service.
all right, before we get onto the politics,
Boycott.
yeah, they've gone to Blue Sky. It's called Blue Sky now. It's the
A
equivalent.
Swedish company or something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's equivalent to.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
before I go on to that, let me finish what I was saying
Great.
about the tablets.
And I suggest everyone does it.
Well, yes, the decent people.
Oh,
No,
decent people.
no, don't suggest everyone do it. Let the Nazis and the bigots and the misogynists and let them stay on X.
Yes, I see what you mean. Let them stay on it.
Let them stay on X, and the gun-loving,
the
gun-toting.
gun-toting maniacs.
Yeah, leave them.
Yeah, on stay on it. Yeah.
You're right, and
And the sex offenders. And,
Exactly.
And
all the degenerates.
degenerates, yeah.
That's what it-
Murderers. And
yeah.
Killers and.
Yeah. So back to the tablets. So what happened?
I feel this is beginning
You
to
feel
feel
sick.
very ill. That's really horrible.
And if you've noticed, this week I haven't got a tablet, the one I have there.
No.
So I'm recording to put this out rather than recording it live, broadcasting it live, because I haven't been taking my tablet. Exactly, I didn't bring my tablet.
X.
But anyway, the point about the tablets, I was saying, what makes me happy is this, is that all of a sudden, these computers, these tablets, all of a sudden, within a very short space of time, went dead. And this is 3 devices out of 6.
No.
I see. I overdosed on technology.
Yeah.
3 devices out of 6 just went dead,
Mm.
and there's no way you can get into it because it's sealed. It's like a
Sure,
phone now.
yes.
You, look,
Sure.
if you see the phone now,
Yeah.
there is you can't even get access to the battery.
You can't battery. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
the old-fashioned one where it can open out.
Yeah.
That's very rare.
Doesn't-
So the new ones don't have that.
And the new laptops you get are like that. They're sealed.
Sealed.
You can't get into it or whatever.
Amazing.
It's only through the connections, the USB or the USB-C, which is the smaller one. Anyway, back to the point. So they all went dead. But lucky for me, the company I bought them off, right, actually gave me a 2-year guarantee. So a year later, like now, it went dead. So I brought it back to them.
But if you think about it, it's really awful, because I remember, having arguments with anti-vaxxers, although they were onto something, even though they were quite, I was like upset with their anti-science thing and thought it was also a diversion from, both rationality and socialism and the rationality that goes with it. But at the same time, they were onto something about being controlled. And actually, I have to admit, where they were quite right about being technologically controlled, but they got misguided over it, and they added it to all sorts of mystical things. But trying to declutter that, as you were saying, yes, we, maybe I was the fool by actually just being so easy to dismiss this because of the anti-science implications. The fact is that, yes, there is technological sort of control, and you've just explained it, and it really is quite awful. The idea that somebody could get a mobile phone, pretty modern ones, which I don't have, but the iPhones, and not to be able to take it apart. I mean, in a way,
Actually,
no
you
wonder
can't.
people are feeling sick, because people are actually feeling sick. And you see the mental illness, and there's a good reason for it, because people are feeling powerless. They're feeling powerless because actually they are being controlled. And I must think I was wrong with a lot of those I was right about being pro-vax and things like that, but it's funny, isn't it, how now you've got a top anti-vaxxer like Kennedy, right? But he's not anti-control. He's pro-control. He's not, just like he's not anti-establishment. He only wants, in fact, he probably wants more control.
You see, in my young days, let's go back 20, 30 years ago, I came up with this theory about money, power, and sex. And I said to myself, these are the driving forces of people. Women who haven't got any money and any power would use sex in order to attract money and power, which
I see what you mean.
which is usually a politician, and many of them have fallen foul or fallen into bed, including the so-called savior of America, make America great again,
Melania.
There was a rumor about her, wasn't there?
Well, no, she actually had, on the day of the Trump's win, in the Russian television showed photographs of her naked. It's ridiculous. Because she was promoting. She did promote herself when she was a model that way. She made modeling.
Right. Money,
That's so funny.
power, and sex.
And can you imagine the evangelist, the Christian, Protestant, and Catholic? I mean, in general, or religious fundamentalists in general, who love the the moralism and the anti-abortion and all the anti-gay and the anti-woke sort of like misogyny. And at the same time, they are so contradictory because
They're human.
they cannot. Maybe they're in denial. Maybe if you showed them like the pictures of Melania Trump naked, right? They would say, no, that's fake news. That's all lies, because they don't want to believe that their hero, right, who their great moral hero, is not moral.
Or can you remember that schoolboy trick? They've opened up their book,
Yeah.
but inside of the book,
Their book is pornography.
is another book.
It's another, yeah.
So back in the Bible Belt, so they're
Bible
opening
Belt.
up their book and they're looking up at the preacher, but they're looking at.
But they look at.
It's usually when they do something like this. you have an idea that they're looking at with what do they call it, a pin-up?
Yeah,
Double. What was that phrase they used? A double page spread.
Double page spread. So they're looking at they're looking at
Melania.
Melania and Stormy get horny.
Right. So if we backtrack, so when you said those people, oh, he's really leaning over the fence over there. Look.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to our subject. This human nature. So you were saying the advocates of the technology that was controlling people, right, was kind of correct.
Well, they were correct, but the way they were coming out with it was crazy.
But they're still into the control thing.
The thing
which
is,
I would say
the
is
thing
power.
is, but you notice that a lot of anti-vaxxers have moved to the far right, and they've gone about great replacement theories.
How you doing?
Yeah. Which is basically a racialist theory, which is as old as the hills, about their beloved the great replacement theory, about the beloved white race being overpopulated through migrations and being and through misogyny and being turned black and brown and yellow and all sorts of other colours.
I've got a copy of it. Yeah, the Great Replacement. I've got a copy of all of those manifests, right? Including the one that
Manifest Destiny.
Yeah, Retrovic. You remember the guy from was it Iceland or when he went and shot all of these people on
Oh, Breivik. Anders Breivik.
Yeah. And also there was a guy in New Zealand, I think it was, who was using the same manifest. I could be a white supremacist. No, you know who's a white supremacist?
But you've been a white supremacist that's been in the oven too long.
Yeah, but no. Listen, Graham, you know who's a white supremacist and been called a white supremacist? Is the leader of the Conservative Party.
Well, you see, what I learned on my access to social science, right? I had a very interesting tutor, right? Got us into groups and that, and I was with a lot of like Asian, Afro-Caribbean, and the English sort of people, right? Returning to education, and we were really given some very odd things to do because it turned out that there are actually black racists and Asian racists, yeah. Let us get very strange.
Let us get deeper, because this is what having a conversation.
Like women misogynists?
What's your definition of a racist?
Well, somebody who like discriminates, right, and prejudicially against people from another so-called race, whatever that means, and usually they base it on something superficial like skin color, because they're not geneticists, so they're not gonna really, and they're not archaeologists or anthropologists, so they're not going into bone structures and eye structures and other phenotypes, right? They're actually just talking about something very simple like the melanin that responds to the skin color. And this has been used very successfully, amazingly successfully for someone like me, and continues to be used successfully to divide people up against their own economic interests, and divide people up and create hatred and division based on this strange, really odd idea.
Let's go
a
deep.
Very odd idea, which is, yeah.
Let's go deeper, because in India, That's the reason why Pakistan was created.
Well, it was the British, but did it before. Because I've spoken to some just 2 weeks ago to some Indian students in Britain,
Yeah.
and they were actually saying to me that they actually created these the Hindu-Muslim divisions before independence to actually stop the independence. But it didn't work. In fact, it reinforced the independence, but it caused problems later, right? That they didn't become an independent India, but the next it followed on to a racialized, a racial or religiously racialized India and Pakistan.
All right, now let's go to Africa. This thing called genocide. Now, genocide is usually one group, right, who sometimes is the minority, right? And I think not
Oh,
Malaysia.
the Hutus and the Tutsis you're talking about in Burundi, yeah.
Yeah.
So that wasn't skin color, but you see this great replacement theory idea, this simplistic idea of being threatened by people of a different anything, religion, language, skin color, God knows what, anything, culture, collection of habits.
Can we call that a psychological what do you call it? A psychological component, a psychological mechanism, a psychological weapon, a psychological weapon.
And what they call it in social science, othering, right?
Yeah.
The othering of for instance, right, like for instance, Black American and Latin American who are second generation in the United States, could other migrants who were Latin and African and say that they eat the dogs but we don't, because we've been here a long time and we deserve more, and we've have got the unfortunately we accept that we don't have the right color of skin like the superior race that
the big blonde man
that lived that
Make
came
America
here,
great again.
that came here in the 16th century, and right, but we are still superior to our dark-skinned brethren who look like us but don't speak English properly, right? American English maybe, don't speak English properly, don't speak and don't have the correct habits, either culinary or cultural, or know the right songs or the right, and also and also they were told that they eat cats and dogs, which of course being
South American origin.
being South American origin themselves, they've convinced themselves that either they've never done or convinced themselves that their brethren do.
And I'm glad you mentioned about the original people of America, because what was the date today? Anyway, I'll tell you why. Today's
Is it Thanksgiving Day?
Hey,
Yo, man.
Hey, yo.
Thanksgiving.
So
And
after-
we want to give thanks to our Lord who created this world.
and what did they do to the natives of America?
Yes. Yeah, 1,200 years ago, on the day of Genesis, when he sent Adam and Eve down to this planet, this here green planet, and procreated and made whatever they did.
Today is Thanksgiving, because you know why?
Thanks to the apple. I want to thank the apple. I want to thank the snake.
Oh no! You know what I missed? The turkey. Oh shit! I should have.
Turkey.
I should have thinged into CNN last night. because there is a turkey that they spare.
Oh, to tell you this, oh yeah, Trump spared the.
No, but
He
no,
spared 2
it's
turkeys.
Biden. It's Biden that's still in. So Biden would have spared 2 turkeys
Turkeys. Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, but Trump was very happy that he spared 2 turkeys.
Oh, you remember?
Yeah.
Right. Because it's a.
But
anyway,
if he spared 2 turkeys each, that would be 4 turkeys.
yeah. And what happened to the other 4,000 turkeys? They just got slaughtered. Anyway, yeah, or 40,000. Anyway, but back to
They
interesting.
went the way of the buffalo.
Talking about prejudice.
Pre-justice.
Right, and talking about, so today would be Thanksgiving because you know why? Tomorrow's Friday, and you know what the Americans started after Thanksgiving for the Friday?
Punching each other.
No, it's caught on over here. Have you not watched any of the media?
Halloween?
No. You would need to go shop.
Black Friday. Yeah, the shopping thing.
Yeah,
Friday, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
why you call it black? Anyway, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, it's called Black Friday, where they go nuts.
Nuts. Yeah. Or do they? We're told that they do because it's an advertising technique. Because I remember every year when they have this Black Friday in Britain, I don't know about the Black Friday in America.
Which is going to be tomorrow.
We're always being told that they never managed to sell as many things as they could do because you see, when people had more money, they had the money left over to spend on the sales, right, which include Black Friday, any of the sales post Christmas, but because and they made a profit from the cheaper goods, right? But if somebody hasn't got the money because they need it for the bills and they need it for food, right, with high food inflation, they can't. They however much they would like to actually save money and spend it on cheaper electrical appliances,
goods,
which are luxuries, small luxuries, which they might like and might deserve, but they can't do it because that money has to go towards food and it has to go towards heating and the bills.
You remind me of a thing called, is it the Pavros? Is it Pavros? You know, about the law of the first basic things. First is food.
Yeah. Hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
Hierarchy of needs.
Warmth, food.
Psychologist. No. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first. Oh, you see, good. You see, I got your brain.
Yeah.
You see, this is the thing about this conversation, because you know it, right? You've
forgot,
in your mind, it's in a drawer somewhere. You have to go searching through your memory because you know it, right? So, what is it? Thing hierarchy? Yeah, yes, it's hierarchy of needs. But can you remember how they think that? Who the name of the person and how the list goes?
No, he's psychologist. What's his name? Yeah. A humanistic existential psychologist who Carl Rogers came later, but he was one of the forerunners.
Anyway, sorry, it'll come to you. It'll come to you. All right, so we were talking about prejudice, racial prejudice, and we're talking about the Houthis and the thing, genocides.
Yeah, and yeah, but you see, it's funny this word racism because there was a lot of English racism towards Irish. It's dying down now, but and they were both white, had similar culture, really.
Is it class or caste?
Well, it's always class because that's the reason why when Donald Trump made that in his last term, made the anti-Muslim ban, he allowed rich oil executives and rich sheikhs from Saudi Arabia to come because they weren't put in that category. So it's always class.
And Bin Laden, what family did he come from?
He came from the rich Al Saud family. Yeah.
And meanwhile, talking about racism and classism.
Well, you're unlikely to get like a road sweeper, or to have all that power and privilege and that, and education that he had. He was from a privileged background, and he had a very good education, and
Actually, talking about road slippers, I'll go on to talk about the Pearly King and Queen, but I'm not gonna, because we're gonna go down that thing.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, we've got Thanksgiving in America. We got Black Friday, and we got Black Friday here as well, right?
Yes.
And people are gonna go nuts. Talking about the
Well, we're told they will. We don't know. We'll wait and see. Maybe they will. But
Right.
we're told they will.
right now, talking about
It's advertising, isn't it?
talking about class division. We had a whole heap of people on tractors. When was it? A couple of days ago.
Well,
last
that
week?
seems like a damn squib, isn't it? It was who was that? Who was that? That
Jeremy Clarkson.
Jeremy Clarkson. Yeah. Well, I think he's done them a big disservice actually, and
Same.
it was perfect. I would have chosen him to be the leader of any group I disliked, because really he made such a fool of it, and he came out with far-right conspiracy theory about ethnic cleansing a farmer. He's not a farmer. He's never worked on the land, right? But he comes out with this because it's a kind of Trump-like thing, and he wants, and everybody now suddenly thinks if they come out with ludicrous conspiracy theories that they're going to become hugely popular, populistically popular, and beloved. But in actual fact, he's really put a hell of a lot of people off.
Putting Clarkson aside, right?
And I don't think too many people feel very, very affronted by super rich landowners, right? Not hill farmers who work their fingers to the bone, but rich landowners who may or may not be. They may own farmland, or they may own the farmers on their farmland, and they don't want to pay inheritance tax because they just want everything, just like in the feudal era. They just want to have be very, very wealthy, and they don't want any change in their enormous wealth. And I think that it hasn't really hit people that really. It hasn't gone. I think it's gone down like a damp squib. You see, what did annoy people was about the heating, like the cuts in the heating bill. That really thing. So when the Tories jumped on that bandwagon to say how awful that was, they were onto something. But they quickly jumped off it again because they don't really give a shit about not very well off people, poor or not, or even slightly not well off people, not heating themselves. But what they do is they do have to make a big deal about their rich landowner colleagues.
But do you know who gets the biggest government benefits?
Landowners.
Thank you.
Especially the royal landowners. I mean, all.
Well, they get.
But landowners, if you think about it, go back before capitalism. Land ownership, right, was the basis of the class society we live in.
All right, but-
Dukes, earls, barons.
All right, before we go
were
up,
landowners.
before we get up to them, the farmers.
The
are
rich man in his castle, the poor man at his gate. He made them high and lowly, he ordered their estate. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great again and small.
Right.
All things bright and beautiful, the good Lord made them all.
So the farmers are upset because the government was taking away their benefits.
And yes, and they want people who they want people on £70 a week to have their benefits taken away. They don't want their benefits, that their £7 million a year benefits taken away.
Intergenerational benefits.
Intergenerational. That goes back, before William the Conqueror.
Right. So the farmers are upset because the government.
No, you're always using these words. Farmers, they're landowners. For God's sake, farmers, right? I've got respect for farmers, landowners.
And where did God give them the land?
In his,
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, in the 5th century.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're
But
saying.
I suppose God gave them swords and
What was that
shields
song?
and that, and God says, go forth and kill the peasants who are farming that land and take it over, and it will be your divine right.
Yeah.
And I shall look after you forever then.
Remember the song you just sang? All things bright and beautiful.
All creatures, great and small.
Yeah.
Great again and
Right.
small.
And there's the Lord.
The good Lord made them all.
Ah.
Yeah.
See.
He made them high and lowly.
Yeah.
And he ordered their estate.
Ah.
The land estates, yeah.
Ah. See.
You know, I was walking with my friend in the West Country,
Yeah.
in the Cotswolds, right? And he showed me some land boundaries that they're from medieval times. I thought,
Wow.
why is that? That's interesting. He said, yes, this was how the
Earl of Essex and
no,
Wessex.
this was before these were strip farming. These were actually land owners who worked on the dukes or the barons' lands, right? But they were allowed to have strips where they grew their own food and tilled their own soil, right? On the days they weren't working, but those were all wiped out after the land enclosures. This was medieval. In medieval times, the peasants on the land had a few more rights. They had strips of land. They didn't have many rights. They were virtually owned by the landowners, and they worked for the landowners for 5 days a week. But for 2 days a week, they tilled their own soil. But that was taken away from them. So then they had nothing.
So how does
Everything was taken away from them during the land enclosures.
Okay, we've got this phrase called gamekeeper turned poacher or poacher turned. How does that?
That I don't know. Sorry, I don't know that. But one thing I do know, and I wanted to tell you a very common phrase used in the countryside.
Go on.
Maybe not so much in the cities, but there's a phrase in the countryside that goes back to the land enclosure period, right? And it has an important meaning to it. Who is the biggest thief? The man that takes the goose off the common, or the man that takes the common off the goose?
Man that takes the common off the goose.
The man, yes. And they were talking about the land enclosure. They were talking about the lords, right, coming with soldiers and forcing them off their land, right? So they became landless. So they became, for the first time, we had landless peasants.
And talking about.
And they became what were called vagrants. And then there was the Vagrancy Act, because the vagrants, who were peasants who lived for thousands of years on these strips of land,
Common land.
right? On common land.
Yeah.
Common land. That's the night.
This is
which
Finsbury
was in
Park, it's
common.
land. Yeah.
And they were chased off that land, and they walked around the country as itinerants, looking for work.
And
In the way that many people are abusively criticise gypsies or Roma about.
And tell me what's happening on the Gaza Strip with the Palestinians. Is that not the same thing? Brutal force being
Brutal
used?
force, exactly. It's settler colonialism. In fact, it's called, in Marxist terms, Israel, the modern Israel, is a settler colonial state in the same way as the Native Americans were pushed off the land in America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. In fact, there's a big problem in New Zealand, and I heard this on the World Service and also in some videos.
Maoris.
The Maoris are the right-wing government is using the race card and actually to attack the Treaty of Waitangi that was done before between the Crown and the Maori when they took over New Zealand. Right? That gave them some rights. And they are wanting to take that away and actually
The few rights they have.
the few rights they have. Of course, they're not standing for it, but this is a problem. But it's the extreme example of that is Palestine.
Have you heard about this ceasefire with Lebanon?
The ceasefire in Lebanon, yeah, but there should be a ceasefire with Palestinians and a two-state solution.
And the West Bank.
And the West Bank, of course. That's what I mean. Gaza and the West Bank, of course. But they're not separate.
But in the news, is the march still going on every Saturday about?
I don't know, but nearly every 2 weeks. But you won't hear about it anymore because the last one I went on wasn't mentioned. It was outside the U.S. Embassy. It wasn't mentioned. So
anyway,
it was very large. It wasn't mentioned. So that's why I don't know, because you see, I rely for a lot of my knowledge on what is broadcast, because it's impossible to be at everywhere at every time. So it seems like the new tactic, which is different from Suella Braverman's tactic, which was backfiring, about calling them hateful and things like that. But actually, this tactic seems to be much more successful of pretending it never happened. Saying nothing about it. In fact, on the Saturday when we went on the Palestine March, which was absolutely enormous, stopped outside by the US Embassy and huge, and sat down, a sea of people, nothing mentioned. The next day there was a bomb
or something?
No, there was a march about water pollution.
Yeah.
And it was mentioned, much smaller, very valid, of course. So I'm not going to fall into the divide and rule thing, but it's very valid. But it's funny how the much more important thing about genocide, the taking of life, by direct murder and starvation and other things like that, is actually just ignored. So people don't know. It's astonishing.
I tell you.
So how many things do we not know?
Yeah, and I tell you who do know is the people who was on the march.
Yeah.
But here's where.
But how many people can they talk to?
Well, if you use, they all got
social media.
Social media, and they're all in communication with it, and that's why these problems will continue for hundreds of years. And be it the right people in the right place would be able to amplify it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily an Elon Musk, or who's the guy who owns Facebook, Zuckerberg, right? Or there is other social medias.
Don't be a Zucker.
A sucker. I'm a musketeer. I'm not a sucker.
A musketeer.
Right. There's a funny twist to that. Right. But we'll choose a different day. But still on that same subject, right? And without going down the technology, we're back to we've got major escalation, right? There's two wars going on, right? And one of them is actually on our shores right now. It's the one with a man called Putin, right? Do not forget, he has said, remember, American Britain says to the people over there, yes, they can use these missiles.
Yeah, long range.
Right. And so Putin has decided to launch a couple of his own. They call them ICBM. As a young man looking at planes, trains, and automobiles, no, actually not, warfare. ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, and there's the theory called MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction, right?
Yeah.
So we move into that phase of things, and Putin has literally, no, some of the commentators have said, "You're mad. You're approaching madness," as in mutually assured destruction, because what Putin has done is that Ukraine has used American and British long-range missile. Putin has used ICBM, and when I heard that news, immediately what came to my mind was,
I think that they can. It's a warning because they can have nuclear warheads, but they didn't have them. But they're saying that they could.
and didn't Putin say that Britain is now definitely part of being the enemy?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Well, I heard that, but
Yes.
then definitely America is also part of the enemy because of this supply of.
Yes.
Now that's why the dateline on. That's why the.
But remember, bullies use proxies.
Yeah.
So it's possible that the two bullies, East and West, will decide on their chess game and which of their proxies they can throw under a bus.
Right. Do you know?
So like chess.
Do you?
We'll you can attack Kazakhstan and we'll attack Britain or Germany. You know, it's like, yeah, but don't touch the mainland. No deal. You know, but yeah.
Do you know why? At the beginning of each one of our podcasts, I insist on the dates. I'll tell you why.
Because maybe there are people that don't like us that want to deny that we're real and and maybe a recording or something.
Right. That is one. What you've just said about what Putin has just said, we have said, or I have said,
Yeah, you've said. I didn't say.
about 2-3 months ago, that we are all involved in this war. This
course.
is a world war.
Yeah, but you see,
Right.
the Middle East is a world war too.
Yeah.
and that's not being talked
No,
about.
no,
It's
no.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
There
Graham.
are
Graham, here's my point. That's the reason why we do the podcast.
there are two world wars.
Look, the
World
reason,
wars.
the reason I do the podcast because we saw that 2-3 months ago, but only now it's admitted that we are at war,
Yeah,
right? And when Putin says, I knew that from literally day one, and I use the phrase that if you are my enemy and we're fighting, and that person supplies you guns and bombs, that person also is my enemy, and that person is America and Britain and Europe.
Because in a way, it's a kind of chess game, and we're the pawns in this chess game. It's a big power game. It's a big power game, and we're not actually meant to actually realise that we're part of this. We're pawns in this power
Graham,
game.
why are you part of this mass?
I mean,
Now listen. Why are you part of this mass denial of what you can see in front of you?
I don't know. I'm just, I'm
I'll
just
tell you why.
I'm a human being.
I'll tell
and
you why. Because you want to fit in, and you want to be.
Possibly.
Yeah, you want to fit in, and you do not want to upset the group.
Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah, that's true. That's right. Yeah, fine. That's true. Yeah.
Listen, I need a stronger argument from you, man. Yeah, you know, like yes.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is,
Yeah.
is all, you know, the balance between being honest and being a bully. I can have I can talk to you like a street person and really raise your temper and make us very angry and that, and then some people who are watching will say, oh, I love him because he tells it how it is and that, and other people say, oh my God, he's rude, he's an awful person. So the thing is, right, it's quite, you know, we keep these things quite polite and everything, and it's I don't want to be totally bland and inoffensive, but I don't want to be offensive for no reason, because that's ludicrous.
And you know, and thinking about it, I believe that's how genocides happen. Because people are going with what part of the group is going with. And some of them know it's wrong. The class, the race, war, right?
Oh no, there's very much the group psychology it's been through for history, like it's very much part of it. Yes, because people want to join their group, their class, their race, their gender, them against us has been the major divider.
And remember, you was the one who said it about the pogrom.
Yeah.
The pitchforks and
no, but
torches.
when I lived in Clays Lane, right? I did a 10-person house, and later I moved to a 4-person house, and things got better. Now some of the people that were harassing me, right? Quite a lot of them were Nigerians and that, right? And I started becoming racist. I didn't mean, but it just got so angry, and my friend John was saying to me, look, you're beginning to be, you know, and I know I wouldn't have it, because I said, you don't understand, you don't live with these people and that. And he said, you're just awful, you listen to what you're saying. And I said, no, I didn't mean it like that, but it's, you know. And then when I moved over to the 4-person house, I actually felt a bit ashamed of myself, because I thought, that's a horrible, you know, that wasn't nice. And you see, but the thing is, as a human being, right, you know, I don't have a halo over my head. I'm not, you know, perfect. And that's the mechanism of how these things work. Now, when somebody taps, right, when that can be tapped into, I have to constantly fight against that, and that's the whole idea of progressive organizations, right, to try to constantly right stop people going over the edge, right, because there are always these possibilities. So that's why it's important to have checks and balances.
Why did you lose your intelligence? All right, let me give you my experience.
Well, why is losing
in that situation?
Why is losing a temper, when someone loses their temper, it's called a moment of madness? Because it's possible for a person to become temporarily mad.
I have a friend of mine who's a business person, right? Who's from Barbados, so they call him Bajan. And he turned around, and he's very I'm not going to say dodgy, but he plays it close to the edge. And he turned around to me one day and he says, Patrick, he says, oh, these Bajan people, he says, they're very dodgy, they're criminals, right? And that was kind of a little bit of a test, because he was a good friend and he's Bajan, right? And I've been down to the Barbados High Commission, and I've been at Barbados events, both of our Barbados Overseas and Friends Association. I was an integral part of that, right? And I had to turn around to him and says to him, no, there are some Bajan people who are bad. Most of the Bajan people I interacted with, and in fact a very dear friend of mine who has actually passed away, Hugo Gunnins, right, who is actually a mentor from Barbados. cuckoo flying fish, and there are some very Barbadian people who have risen to higher echelons in the society, and some of them I know and some of them are good friends. So the trick was
Yeah.
that there are
Yeah.
in that community of people, right, there's a minority who are bad, there's a majority who's good.
Yeah.
If you happen to end up in that minority,
Yeah.
then all the people around you who are Bajan seem to be
Isn't
bad.
it so sad that we have to reinvent the wheel every week?
No, so
Every week we've got to say this.
Yes, yes.
We've got to go back to these infantile discussion. So we think we're having an intellectual discussion with somebody, and then they say, "But you know something, I don't like those group of people," and it's like, well, some of those group of people are nasty. But then some people, in all groups of people are nasty, but most people are good. I don't know, I don't care about what you're saying, because you don't have to live with them. No, that is true, and if I was with those nasty people from that group, that isn't nasty, but some of them are, I would feel a little bit the same. But then, when they were no longer being nasty to me, and I was able to think with washawality, then I would think my washawal side would say, oh, I made a mistake, I'm being a prejudice. And really speaking, most people are good, and then a few people are bad, and those few people that are bad don't have any characteristics that make them bad at all, they just are bad.
So why did you lose your intelligence with the Nigerian?
Because I was being upset all the time, and I went back atavistically, right, that's a lovely word, you've got to read that one.
Okay.
I went back, right, I went back to an earlier time of simplicity, temporarily a moment of madness.
No, it was a long moment of
A
bad.
big one, yes, it was, and I actually, had I not left, it might have got worse and worse.
Yeah, but I remember you said to me, I think it was the last time, about when somebody comes up to you.
We've all done it, haven't we?
No.
We've all done it.
No.
We've all.
No.
Okay. Okay, you may be arrogant of virtue.
Where did you?
I shall bow down to no greatness.
Where did you?
right?
Where did
But
you decide to put me into that club?
Listen, I'm universalizing, right? Like Immanuel Kant, right? We've all fall into prejudice, but the point is to quickly jump out of the swamp, right? We jump into the swamp, but we need to quickly jump out of it. Now, I can't turn round, right? I can't turn around my hand on my heart and say I haven't, fallen into that sometimes, but I quickly jump out of it. But lots of people I know can't jump out of it.
Did you ever see
They
that?
can't do it.
Yeah.
They just cannot do it.
Yeah.
And listen,
why can't they do it?
What I would say to your Bajan friend,
Yeah.
right? I'd say, right, if you think many Bajans are bad, right, then you must make a little clause for all the Bajans that are under 5, because the ones who are under 5, right, I don't have any opinion about at all.
All right. So let me tell you another thing about Barbados.
I watch them drinking milk and I think, wow, I don't even know what their behaviour is.
They were the first, and still is the first Caribbean island to ditch the crown.
This is the crown.
Do you remember that? Do you remember?
Past the Duchess on the left hand side.
All right. Okay.
Ditch the crown.
All right. Now the reason why, you see, we talk about the hierarchy of
Let's
needs.
ditch our colonial crown. It's been a long time since formal independence. Let's ditch the crown now.
Right. we talk about the hierarchy of needs, right? Right.
Abraham Maslow.
Maslow yeah, the same one with the dog.
Ah.
Ding.
No, he was even on Pavlov. No.
Oh, sorry. What's the name?
Ivan Pavlov was in the 1960s.
All right. So what's the
He's
name
very,
again?
Very forward.
What's the name?
Abraham Maslow. He was an American. Abraham Maslow.
Okay. See.
Ivan Pavlov was a Russian in 1912 to 1916.
I see.
He was pre-Soviet. He was
Right.
part of he was under the Tsar Nicholas. He was studying, and he came up with for that time, an amazing theory. But it's quite a simplistic one. But it was at a much earlier time. The two people are very far apart.
Right. Now, the reason why you lost your intelligence, right, is part of those basic environment. You put it back in. Is part of those basic environmental things. You said to me that it was something about if somebody comes to you, first of all, you ignore them, and then after a while, if they shout at you, right, then after a while you begin to react the same way.
No, but listen.
Yeah, go on.
If I shout at you, right, I bet you if I start shouting, you're going to change completely.
Yeah.
Your blood pressure, everything,
Yeah.
your eyes, everything, and you'll be growling at me like an XLR bully. You and your ear.
Right.
The thing is, it's physiological. It's physiological. Making somebody angry is physiological. That's why, right? That's why the populist politicians, right, know how to keep people in a state of anger all the time. Angry.
So what I call it-
Angry.
What I call it-
physiologically angry.
So what I call it is a psychological weapon.
Weapon, perfect weapon.
Right.
It's brilliant.
So those
A psychological weapon.
couple of Nigerians that riled your cage, to
Yes.
put it that way, was using a psychological weapon. So you lost all your.
Actually, what was funny was you hit on something perfect, because I was they brought somebody over, like cousin of theirs, like in a gangster like way, kind of threatened me in a roundabout way, gangster like way. And what he mentioned to me was that and he also put it in that maybe I was anti-African and very racist, maybe I didn't like black people. And I thought to myself, I got really angry and I said, listen, you walked into the place where I live and you're saying this. And I breathed deeply and I thought, wow, this is very clever. And I said, okay, see you, bye-bye. And that was it. I'm going to my room, right? And the thing is, I realised that was a trigger.
Yeah.
That person deliberately triggering me. Now the thing is, when we all know about how, what we know about people's, the prejudices are there.
Yeah.
We can use them to manipulate them, and we can trigger somebody.
Yeah.
Why? Listen, when I don't know if Trump or was so mad he just repeated these things about Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs, or whether he knew it was crafty enough to know that that's going to trigger people.
Weapon.
Trigger, right?
Weapon.
That's a psychological weapon. Does it trigger people?
It does.
And if it bloody well worked. One week,
And
one week,
and it triggers people from the same.
Yeah, and then
background,
then
ethnic
he
background.
brought a comedian along. It wasn't a comedian, nasty. He made nasty things, and he said that the Puerto Rico is an island of garbage.
Yeah.
Then when Biden correctly actually said no, but you're the garbage, right?
Yeah,
they
to
turned
retract
around and
it.
said, you turned around and said, oh, you're calling my followers, so you're the racist. You don't
They
like
turned
white
it around.
America. You're the ones. Look, you're calling
had to
them.
apologise.
Yeah, you're calling them the ignoramuses.
Yeah.
So because you're actually the garbage. He triggered that. So it was very clever
Psychological.
street manipulation.
Yeah.
Look, my stepfather, when I was a child, right? He was a street person. He wasn't educated. He's from rural Ireland, right? And I remember talking, and he told me something. And I was talking to him in his room in my grandfather's house, right at the top, And she said, and he told me street things which I'd never known because I wasn't brought up in that street way, My grandparents I was brought up with, my mother, they were fairly respectable in that, right? But he said when he was like in the rural sort of Dublin, and he taught me about. He said, look, what he did sometimes when he won a fight, right, is put pennies between the knuckles, right, and he says so somebody might be a good boxer, but if you got the pennies
Like
between
knuckle
that,
duster.
look, it's like a knuckle duster, and this is like a cheap knuckle duster,
Yeah.
right, and people don't see it, and he says another thing you can do, right, is if you know somebody's quite strong on that, but you want to win the fight, you just pretend to be friendly with them, get them really close, and then whack them.
That's what they do in prison.
Yeah, dirty. I was a bit shocked at that time because nobody I knew talked like that, but it stuck in my head.
If you're with that group
He
of
also
people,
he also said something which I've remembered a lot of my life, and has probably made me a very strong feminist, right? On that very one statement that he made, because he was brought up to believe this. It was in working class Ireland in the 1940s and 50s. He was brought up with that, street, right? And he said women are to be well fucked and poorly shod, right? Horrible, right? Not well looked at, like horses, not well looked after. But now the thing is, I was horrified, and even though I was about maybe 10 or 12 at the time, that went into my head to be the opposite. I was going to always the opposite. I hated that. But you see, the thing is, right, this is the world I'm in. So I lived. So I learned from that. I'm very glad about that I learned from that.
all right, let me move on to more conclusion, and a few minutes we'll end. That was
There are people who think like that.
Yeah, I know.
And they might never say that because they might know that I can only say that to people like me. So you might meet somebody who actually thinks like that, but they don't say it. But
and that's another conversation with another. It's done on a mass scale as well.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was it? Oh, So the subject is. So from where you came from, here's the thing. Have you got the ability to create the world that you exist in?
I always try, but I don't manage. But I keep trying. Like I try to. In my conversations with other people, I always slip in a bit of subversion as best I can, because, I've got some friends who say, why do you bother? And they would never dream of doing that, right? But I just do it. I always try to, elucidate a bit of consciousness. I always try to put some consciousness in all the time.
How far?
And I would imagine someone like you tries to do that as well,
I have the ability to create the world in which I exist in. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
This.
Yeah. Okay.
This.
Fine. Yeah. Very
Right?
good.
I imagine doing something like this,
Yeah.
and it happened. In fact, even before this,
Very good.
let's go over to that.
Yeah.
Remember
That.
the hut, the drumming club?
Yeah. And it's really sad because when I went past it just a while ago, I thought that could be very useful.
Yeah, but here's the conversation. The conversation is about creating the world which you exist in,
Yeah.
right? And you said to me about me. So that was something I created.
Yeah.
I had envisaged. I'd worked a long time, maybe years, and even with this is a distilled version of what we did down there.
Yeah.
Because the other characters we had, weren't at this level,
No.
Right.
Unfortunately.
right? And I show,
Very sadly.
and I show you the level because you had forgotten, but in this conversation you had remembered.
There were a few people who were on that level. I remember there was a West Indian man, very big strong guy, who was very intellectual. I used to meet him every now and then.
Okay.
I got on with him really well, but he came with the group. But he knew how to be flexible. He shifted his tone and register when he was talking to people that more ignorant and more basic and more brutal, and he shifted his tone. But to me, we always had fantastically
Conversation.
interesting conversations. So there were every now and then, and it would always come as a surprise to meet them because they were always in a tiny minority. But there were, you know, people there who actually made the world around them.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, he used to clean up. I used to see him picking up rubbish. He did. He tried to make the place nice.
All right.
You know.
Okay, so we're talking about creating the world in which you exist
Yeah.
in, right?
Yeah.
So I mentioned that, and I mentioned this.
Yeah. And
In-
but I call it an attempt because I know that we don't have lots of power and influence, so we're just like chipping away at the rock. You know?
Actually, I would say the reverse.
You think we have a lot of power and influence?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
And I'll give you an example. Who would
Nice to hear.
who would it's a conversation for a different day.
Maybe it's I'm
The
pessimistic.
people from Extinction
Rebellion,
Rebellion,
yeah, yeah.
right, know how to push the buttons,
Push the button. Yeah.
right, to get everybody interested.
Yes.
So much so
Yeah.
that they're now, I think they've probably been, what do you call them, cited as an extremist organization.
Yeah.
But these are middle class, highly intelligent people,
Yeah.
right? That's a good example
Mhm.
of how they had influenced the world in a kind of, they've done it so extreme that they've had everybody, that the whole law enforcement, the whole, and even the law
Well,
can't actually handle them because
Yeah,
they
because they said, oh, well, we'll be glad to go to jail for a couple of days. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say it's really awful, and you know. And they were saying, yeah, well, I'm middle class and privileged, but I don't mind going to jail for a couple of days because I want really to save the planet. And, you know, and I can explain why. I'm not, you know, somebody who's a heroin addict, who's like sleeping on the street, who's just gonna, you know, shout and scream, and you can use as a stereotype. So I'm actually glad because if I come out of the jail after a couple of days, but you know, and there's no justification for holding me because I haven't hurt anybody or anything, and I'll come out and I'll actually use that to talk to the press, and that will be even better because I'm articulate. In fact, I'm going back to something which is so hilarious.
Right.
I'd love to see this again, right? This is wonderful. I saw the clip of this, right, on one of these left-wing videos. Can't remember which one it was because I watched a lot of them, but one of the English left-wing videos. Anyway, oh yeah, I think I know. I haven't seen it for a long time. I used to watch it regularly. There was a video.
Tell us what it's about. It's all right.
Navarra Media.
Yeah.
Navarra Media, right.
Yeah.
Right. I've got to look at it again, actually. Navarra Media. Good. I'm glad I've just remembered that because I want to see them again. Aaron Bastani and Michael Walker, right, and others. Now, they showed us this clip. Now, and it was about Extinction Rebellion, right? There was a GB News host, right, who was a very right-wing troublemaker. He's very rude and brash, you know, and he invited this man who'd been arrested, and wasn't locked up for a long time, but he was arrested and fined and that.
From Extinction
From
Rebellion.
Extinction Rebellion, and he was a young 24-year-old, young man, but he was well educated. Now he invited him on, right, and it was absolutely marvelous, right. You're going to love this. Now he was saying to him, well, he says, what are you? Oh, Peter, Peter, okay, Peter. Now you think because you think that you should,
Stop
go and
traffic.
start traffic.
Stick yourself to a
goes,
plane.
Yes, and I'm doing that because of the crisis and the environment. And he goes, well, yeah. It's very interesting about that. But really, let's stick to the issues of the disruption. He said, well, I want to talk about the environment and so on. And he goes, yeah, I'm sure you do. I do. People like you always do, don't you? He goes, well, it's not people like me. He said it's lots of people who are worried about the environment, and I'm a spokesperson for them because you wouldn't have them on there because they haven't done anything which you would call interesting, and so you need some disruptive things to happen so that you can invite me on to talk about that, because the people who just want to talk about saving the environment, you're not interested. He goes, right, okay then, well, let's change the subject. and he goes, no, this is the beginning. He goes, right, so I've heard, whatever, Peter, I've heard you're a carpenter. He said, yeah, yes. So that's your day job, yeah, carpenter. So a carpenter is a day job, and then you cause trouble.
If I had a
in
hammer,
rebellion,
I'll have it in the morning. Good, yeah, carry on.
Right, in the rest of the time. He goes, well, if you want to put it like that, he said, I wouldn't put it like that. He said, but I know you don't have any other way of talking, so carry on, right? He goes, okay, no, so we've got something. So you are a carpenter, right? Oh, you're a carpenter, right? Okay, fine, you're a carpenter. Yes, yeah. He goes, that's your job, yeah. He goes, okay. He goes, so you know that trees are alive? He said, yes, the trees are alive, yeah, they're living. So you and I both agree they're living things, right? But you don't mind killing the trees and using the wood? He goes, no, I don't mind. He says, so you're prepared to kill? He says, yes. He said, and he said, it's, yes. He said, it's been done for thousands of years. He said, so I said, you wouldn't kill people, right? But, or, you know, and you don't, you're vegetarian, you don't even kill animals, but you don't like killing wood. He goes, yes. Just, he said, because it's living, but actually it's wood. It's not an animal. It's not live. It has it has a completely different structure and function to you know. He goes, right, okay. He says, you seem to be more educated than me. You seem to know a lot more than I know. And he goes, he said, what do you? He said, okay, I'll give, okay, right. He goes, what about metal? He goes, what about metal? He says, so would you? He said, a bar of metal. Would you kill the metal? He goes, this is unbelievable. It's ridiculous. Do you know what you just said? Well, yeah. Well, so what have I just said then? You've said that metal is alive, and asked me if I would kill a piece of metal. How can I answer this? I don't know how I can carry on speaking to you. And he goes, well, Peter, well, it was lovely meeting you, Peter. Thank you very much. I think we've got to go and meet some other people.
I'm talking about we got to go. Before we got to go.
This is a perfect clip. I must try to find this again. This is so good.
I hear you. Okay.
So good.
Right.
GB News.
Right, we've got about 30 seconds left. So what's your message to yourself, either from the past, or either yourself to the past, or either to yourself in the future? So what's your message to yourself? You're going to put it on camera and then we're going to say goodbye. What's your message to yourself? Because we talk about that momentary loss of madness.
Well,
I've had those too, but you know.
Yeah, I've not much to say about that. I was just being self-revealing at that time.
Yeah.
To kind of be honest, and to actually say to other people that are listening, look, you know, we're not asking for paragons of virtue. We just want people who are human beings to try to change the world and make it a better place around them, you know, whether it's environmental, social justice, whatever have you. And but there is something I want to say. I was telling you about, I was quite depressed. I've just got over my depression about the Donald Trump victory.
Okay.
Well, I was under terrible depression over the Brexit thing, and I got over that. So I'll get over this, and it's happening now. And I'm realising that, you know, we are the resistance. But something's very interesting, because I was watching a few videos, and it's a very interesting one, which I'll leave on, about he mentioned the tariff barriers from Trade One to Canada, Mexico, and China. Now, all these more sort of left-wing intellectuals who have voiced a similar criticism, right, saying that he and his colleagues, right, don't know anything about sort of economics. They don't even know what tariff barriers are, trade, but taxing goods, because actually. He says he doesn't understand the consequences of him actually doing that. It could be disastrous for him and his followers, because it's American employers buy the goods, right?
And if you put a tariff on it,
and they'll have to pay extra
because you put a tariff on it.
So they'll have to raise prices up. So they're actually having a headache at the moment. So if he does it, right, it may raise inflation, which will it won't hit his bonehead followers, the red hat MAGA followers that think he's a
Actually,
Jesus Christ.
It will.
Right? It'll hit them, but they won't mind. Because
anyway,
the Stockholm syndrome, because they're kind of masochistic.
Stockholm
syndrome.
Yeah.
His hardline followers, right, will just hear the racism and the southern border and anti-foreign, because he's actually mentioning the magic word, the tariff barriers, which is ludicrous. We know. It's meant to stop migration and drugs and that, right? It's all conflated together. It's all a racialized rant of nonsense, but including his Trump's son, another lunatic, right? But
the
illiteracy of it is that what it doesn't realise is that a lot of the people that did vote for Trump who weren't MAGA maniacs, but were confused in that and thought that this might ease the pain of their inflation and problems they have under Biden and that. They will get a big shock and they will feel really disgusted when the inflation, instead of going down as he promised, goes up. They will be horrified.
Did you remember?
And his support base will shrink down to just the criminally insane psychotics who love him.
Did you remember? Yeah. Did you remember?
The gun lovers. The gun lovers club.
Yeah. Did you remember? Right. And that I'll revert back to why.
And the Ku Klux Klan. He'll be the only base they'll have left. Klansman.
Did you remember? And this reverts back to why I always date what we're saying.
Yeah.
When we first took that subject on, which was probably, I don't know, let's say a few weeks back, or even up to a month, I mentioned this metaphor to you.
Yeah.
It was like, it was from a gangster. I said, a person went to the dentist and he grabbed a hold of the dentist's balls. And he said to the dentist, "You don't hurt me,
I won't hurt you." Yeah.
I won't hurt you. Do you remember me saying that?
Yeah.
That was in relation to the tariff.
Yeah.
And what it has been realized now is exactly that. And on behalf of you, I'm going to say goodbye.
Bye-bye. That's it.